The evolution of scientific representation, from diagrams to data. Introduction. Scientific representation refers to the various ways scientists communicate and model the natural world. From the earliest sketches of celestial bodies to the advanced computational simulations used in today's research, the tools we use to represent natural phenomena have evolved considerably. This evolution has been driven by an increasing need for precision, abstraction, and the ability to model complex systems. This article traces the historical journey of scientific representations, from the concrete visualizations of early science to the abstract data-driven models used in modern research. Early representations, symbols and visualizations. In the early days of scientific inquiry, representations of the natural world were primarily visual and symbolic. These early models were often based on observations and were designed to make sense of the world in a more tangible way. For instance, ancient astronomers used geometric diagrams to depict the movements of celestial bodies. These diagrams were often limited to simple shapes like circles or spheres, reflecting the relatively rudimentary understanding of the universe at the time. A prime example is the geocentric model of the universe, developed by figures like Ptolemy, where planets were visualized moving in complex patterns, such as epicycles, around a stationary Earth. These geometric models were important because they provided a structured way of thinking about and predicting astronomical events. However, they were also limited by the technology and conceptual frameworks available at the time. In the realm of alchemy, symbols played a central role. Alchemists created complex symbolic diagrams to represent chemical reactions and the transformation of substances. These symbols were not just representations but also tools for guiding experiments and conveying philosophical concepts about the nature of matter. While these representations were rich in meaning, they had yet to develop the abstraction and precision that later scientific representations would offer. The shift to mathematical representations. As science progressed, especially during the Renaissance and Enlightenment periods, there was a shift toward more systematic and mathematical representations. Scientists like Isaac Newton and Galileo Galilei began to use mathematics to describe natural phenomena, moving beyond simple visual symbols to formulas and equations. Newton's laws of motion, for example, represented a revolutionary leap in scientific representation. Instead of relying on visualizations alone, these laws used mathematical equations to describe the behavior of objects under different forces. The shift to mathematics provided a more accurate and universal framework, which could be applied to a wide range of phenomena. In the 19th century, advances in physics, chemistry, and biology continued to push the limits of representation. Figures like James Clerk Maxwell and Michael Faraday developed mathematical formulations to describe electromagnetic fields, while Charles Darwin used diagrams and evolutionary trees to depict the relationships among species. These models combined abstract mathematics with visual tools to help scientists make sense of complex ideas. The rise of computational models. The true transformation in scientific representation, however, began with the advent of computers in the 20th century. Computational models allowed scientists to simulate natural phenomena with unprecedented precision. Instead of relying on simple diagrams or mathematical equations, scientists could now represent systems through dynamic, data-driven models that could account for countless variables and interactions. Climate modeling offers a prime example of how computational models revolutionized scientific inquiry. Early climate models, such as those developed in the mid-20th century, were based on simplified equations and assumptions. However, as computing power grew, models could incorporate more data and simulate more complex systems. Today, climate models incorporate vast amounts of data, from global temperature patterns to ocean currents, allowing scientists to make predictions about climate change with greater accuracy. Similarly, molecular dynamic simulations use computational models to simulate the behavior of molecules and atoms in various conditions. This has transformed fields like chemistry and drug discovery, allowing scientists to visualize interactions at the atomic level and predict the behavior of molecules in ways that would have been impossible with traditional visual representations. Abstraction in modern representations. One of the key features of modern scientific representation is abstraction. As science has advanced, so too has the abstraction of the tools used to represent the natural world. While early diagrams and symbols were often rooted in direct observation and tangible representations, today's computational models rely heavily on abstract data. These models often represent real-world systems through complex algorithms and equations, with much of the data processed in ways that are not immediately visible or understandable to the human eye. This shift towards abstraction is not just a matter of technological advancement, it reflects a deeper understanding of the natural world. As our knowledge of complex systems, like the atmosphere, biological systems, or the economy, has grown, scientists have found that the relationships within these systems are often too complex to represent in a straightforward visual form. Instead, abstract models, based on data and algorithms, provide a way to represent systems in their full complexity. For example, climate models today represent not just the temperature and precipitation patterns but also more subtle variables, like wind patterns, cloud formation, and ocean currents. These models are not static diagrams. They are dynamic simulations that evolve over time based on real-world data. Similarly, in molecular dynamics, the position and movement of individual atoms are represented through mathematical equations, often requiring high-performance computing to process the vast amounts of data involved. Conclusion: the evolution of scientific representation, from early geometric diagrams and alchemical symbols to complex computational models, highlights the changing ways in which we understand and engage with the natural world. Early representations were rooted in visual and symbolic frameworks that reflected the limits of scientific knowledge at the time. As our understanding deepened, so too did our methods for representing that knowledge, culminating in the data-driven, abstract models that are central to modern scientific inquiry. In future articles, we will explore how these abstract models continue to shape scientific progress and the broader implications for the ways in which we construct knowledge.